Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My dear brothers and sisters and viewers of Ikra TV, welcome to the second part of Real Talk. At the beginning of the program, I laid out the sort of issue for today, which is basically what we witnessed in Leicester City, the disturbance and the awful scenes that we saw of intercommunal hatred, or what I would call hate scenes that we saw, where for decades all communities, particularly the Muslim and the Hindu and the Sikh community in particular, from the South Asian continent, have been living in peace and harmony for many, many decades. And suddenly, in 2022, we see these unfortunate scenes taking place. As I said, we have with me my friend, dear friend, and also originally fellow Malawian, who has been very, very active over many, many years in the interfaith work in the city of Leicester. A man of enormous experience and knowledge around these sort of issues. He has been granted an OBE for his work around community cohesion, and he's also one of the key people in the Federation of Muslim Organizations in Leicester itself. He should be online with us now. Sorry, Sulaiman Bhai Naqdi, if you can see me and can hear me. Sorry, I've been told that there's some technical issues at the moment. He should be on with us. As I say, he has been working tirelessly over many, many years, and many, many people, not just in Leicester, but across the country and internationally as well. He is well known for his hard work and efforts in bringing communities together. We're waiting to get connected to him, and I think he's trying to contact me by my phone to say he may have some technical difficulties. We're trying to communicate with him through email. I'm trying to see whether he has some technical issues at that side, that I'm on air with him. So I'm trying to see whether there's an issue there.
Hello?
Sulaiman Bhai, we're trying to contact you by email.
He sent me a password that
Yes. Apparently he's had a password that he's not able to access. So we'll try and contact him again. We're also trying to contact Sister Yasmin Surti, who is the Secretary of the Federation of Muslim Organizations. Our technical people are going to contact Solibhai separately and try and see whether they can sort this issue out. I saw him earlier before the program started, and we had a very good connection. Now, I'm sure Muslims and Hindu community members have been disturbed by what they have seen taking place in Leicester, and the reverberations around that for other towns and cities as well. As I say, we have lived in this country for decades now, from all communities, and we have worked and lived together in harmony for a very long time. So these scenes, when they developed, ostensibly, they say it happened from the cricket match that took place between India and Pakistan. I don't know whether that is true or not. As many of you will know, that over the last few years that I've been doing this program, as I've said to you, I was born in Africa, where Solibhai Naqdi was born in Malawi, and I had very little interaction and connections with the Indian subcontinent until very recently, and I've just been there for a few days on a few occasions, and that's it. So I don't get involved or am aware of the politics of that takes place in the Indian subcontinent. But I, like many, many other fellow Muslims and Hindu community members and others, have been disturbed by what we have witnessed. And obviously, he has, these have upset lots of other people as well. So can I just ask Solibhai if you can contact the office and we can re-establish that video link that we had. The phone number is 01274 214 299. This unfortunate that before we went on air, we had a very good link up. We spoke to each other. We broke up because of Maghrib Namaz, and that link sort of broke down. So we're now having to try and see how we can retrieve this link with Sulaiman Bhai Naqdi from Leicester. But I'll continue. In the meantime, if people want to phone in while we try and establish this link, please feel free to do so. As I say, our phone number is 01274 214 299. And we'd like to hear your views, your thoughts about what you think triggered this unfortunate incident in Leicester. And also, I would want to hear from people in Leicester to see whether they have their own thoughts and want to share their thoughts about the responses from the authorities, both the the police service, the local authority. Oh, I can now see Sorry bhai. Sorry bhai, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Kem cho? How are you, sir?
Alaikum salam. I've had to use my phone.
Yeah.
Somehow it would not work with the thing. If you just bear with me a second.
Yep. You just need to lift the phone a little bit so we can see your handsome face. Because at the moment I can't see your face. But Sulaiman bhai, obviously I know, sorry about apologies, because before we went for Maghrib Salat, that's much better. Now we can see you clearly. Yes, before we went for Maghrib Salat, we had a nice chat, and then we broke for Maghrib Salat, and obviously something went wrong. Sulaiman bhai, I've been talking to my viewers and telling them about the history of all these decades of living together in Leicester, one of the most multiracial, multi-faith communities in the country, and how you have worked tirelessly over many, many decades to try and make sure that harmony, that unity, that friendship between the communities continued and developed and grew, and did for all this time. I mean, our community, both Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, Bangladeshi and others, have been living in Leicester since the late 40s, early 50s. We've never had this problem before. So for my viewers, I mean, the rumors were that it started off after the cricket match where India and Pakistan were playing, and something triggered from that. Now, I don't know whether that is the trigger or whether it was something else. Can you just tell us where and how it started in the first place, please?
Okay.
I've also introduced you as a member of the Federation of Muslim Organizations that you have been for many, many years, and also the Leicester rep on the British Council, the Muslim Council, the Burial Council as well. So, that introductions have been made. So can I just go back to that question? What was the trigger for this?
Okay. Before I think we go on to the trigger, we need to understand the demographics and the dynamics of the community.
Yes.
So what's actually taken place here is this, that many in Leicester were what we call
Sorry, are you able
migrants.
to turn the volume up a little bit?
Sorry, the volume, yes. Can you hear me any
please.
better, or I'll hold it nearer?
Yeah.
Is that any better?
Yeah, that's better. Okay.
Yeah, the phone is quite close. Anyway, what it is we have to understand the migration patterns of people that have lived in Leicester, which is somewhat slightly different to other parts of the country.
Mm-hmm.
So many people from the Asian subcontinent whose parents or grandparents left the Indian subcontinent and went to places in Africa, so Uganda, Kenya, Southern Central Africa, Malawi, Zambia, Zimbabwe, South Africa, is what we call the twice migrants. Mm-hmm. These are people that lived, traveled, did business with people of all different faith communities. So we have a large influx of people from that part of the world in Leicester. So if you look at the migration patterns from the sort of 50s, 60s, largely they came from the Indian subcontinent, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and in the 70s, we had those that have come from Africa. And these are the people over the last 46 years that I've been in the city of Leicester. We've had excellent relations. We've never thought that something like this could ever take place. Now, what happened is, I would not say it was a cricket match itself that caused the problem. That may be a trigger factor, but there may have been underlying conditions within the city that all of us did not identify. Now, I don't wish to stereotype a particular community, but over recent years, over I think the last 5-6 years, we've had a new influx of new people that have come directly from certain parts of the subcontinent. And these people possibly were not as well integrated, nobody's fault. Maybe the bridge was not built between them and us. So what started as sort of low-level crime, antisocial behavior, people drinking in sort of parks, outside places of worship, playing drums, music, etc. This was all relatively new to our community, and this is where some of the difficulties gave rise. So though people say it's a cricket match, we've had cricket matches for many, many years. It's never turned to violence as we've had unfortunately this year. So we need to sort of take a measured approach to this, that it may be what we call the trigger point, but I'm sure there were underlying conditions a long time before the cricket match actually took place.
So these were sort of well-established communities that have been there for many, many decades. and new communities coming in with different attitudes and different thinking, different behavioral practices, etc. And
That's right. So that's what I say. It's new arrived communities. I don't wish to blame them all, because I think that we need to realize that integration, certainly in relation to how the local authorities would have looked at it, all the different agencies, a multi-agency approach, people that lived in sort of smaller housing, because these are new people that arrive. Renting is very expensive. People live in a two-up, two-down terrace house. Sometimes two families could be living together in one place, and there's overcrowding, and so people sort of spend their time in a park or outside. And while they're outside, certain antisocial behavior may give rise to, example, drinking in the streets, etc. So it started from there, and some of that is continued into the present climate we find ourselves in. Having said that, I cannot say definitely what triggered everything. And the reason I say this by virtue of the fact that as a community, we have asked for an independent inquiry. This inquiry will then establish and lessons learned in relation to what actually took place, and the response of the police, the local authority, all the faith communities, etc. And that's the only time we'll determine. So I'm very mindful that I don't say something that could prejudice a future inquiry into the troubles that we had.
Has that agreement been agreed that an inquiry will take place? And that's not a formal inquiry, is it? A formal inquiry will be something that either the government would establish or a local authority would establish.
Well, it is formal in the sense that the local authorities will establish it,
right?
But the terms of reference should be from within the community,
right?
Because we have to be mindful that if it's run through the organization itself, it may not have the same credibility. So it's partnership working, and we're hoping that we will be party to drawing up the terms of reference for this, and then taking wider evidence from people from both sides of the community to try and establish what went wrong and how we can make sure that this never repeats itself again.
I mean, obviously, I'll come back to another point about external influences, but when this unfortunate incidents happened, we had members of one particular community, which is the majority community for Leicester, coming into the other communities and actually threatening behavior, intimidation, and in some cases criminal damage as well, whether that was the allegation, whether I've seen some videos, etc. And I'm sure many of my viewers would have seen it as well. Did you feel that the authorities, particularly those responsible for policing and well-being of communities, responded appropriately? Because there was some suggestion that was not the case.
Right. It depends on the timeline that we're looking at this particular situation that gave rise to these particular disturbances. So in the early stage, most of the people that were out in the streets, there was, I would say, adequate policing, and there was enough intelligence, usually soft intelligence, to suggest that people will be meeting, and as a result, the police did put the appropriate resources. What then happened, and I do not wish to make an excuse for the police because they have to be answerable for themselves, but of what they've told us, and the inquiry will reveal this, is that at the second time, so what happened is after about a week to 10 days, things had calmed down. This is the police's story. Now, I haven't independently verified it, but this is a story that we've got from the police. Many people who were working long shifts, 12-hour shifts, etc., 3 days before the last lot of group of people got together from an area from Belgrave coming towards the Highfields area, which is a predominantly Muslim area. There was no intelligence, and at that point, they only had 8 police officers, and this just grew organically. Now, there's some evidence to suggest that people from outside the city had also arrived, and this compounded the problem. Now, what we understand for the police, they had 2 options available to them. One is, do they actually intervene and try and stop the march, or do they engage? Now, in order to stop a march that you had no intelligence with, it's awful difficult when there are about 8 police officers and about 250, 300 young people all getting together. So the decision that the police had taken that time, rightly or wrongly, was we don't have enough staff at the moment. Some were actually taken away, as you no doubt know, that Her Majesty the Queen had passed away and the funeral took place in London. So some of the resources could have been sent out there. Those officers that were working for up to 10 days, 12-hour shifts were given time off because 3 days prior to the last disturbance, things had calmed down. And the officers at that point, what they could only do was continue engaging with the people that were marching. And the idea at that point was that the police would get reinforcements. Now, reinforcements comes in different ways. Our neighboring West Midlands, which is Birmingham, Derby, Nottingham, had to send police officers across. Other police officers that were doing other work had to be pulled back. Police officers, example, those that are detectives within the CID had to go home and change into a police uniform. There were not sufficient PSU trained police officers are people that are trained for under right conditions, etc.
These are police community support officers you're talking about. So overall,
No,
what you're trying to say is that the one of the last incidents, it was completely people were unaware of it. But as
exactly.
you say,
That's what the police say.
Yeah, but I mean, people are saying, and there was some evidence being presented on WhatsApp, etc., that some of these people obviously came from other parts of the country, mainly
That's
southern
right.
England, and you
Yes.
know they were bussed in basically from outside to cause this civil unrest in the streets of Highfield, and you know they gathered on Melton Road, I suspect, and then they walked to Highfields, as you say, which is a predominantly Muslim area, which is not a short walk. It'll take somebody, a fit person, at least 20 minutes to walk that, if not more. An unfit person like me would probably take about 40 minutes, double the time. So it's, obviously that time lapse, the police probably had time to come up with a strategy, because they must have known that a large group of people like that will be gathering and there will be commotion. And did they not see that coming to any extent?
Well, the questions we asked them, there was no intelligence to suggest that there was going to be a gathering. It happened organically. It happened very quickly. And of course, by the time you get, according to them, officers from other counties, etc., and people come into Leicester, there's a good 1 or 2 hours that goes away, because you need vehicles, you actually need 3 police officers to make a single arrest, for health and safety. Now, I'm very mindful in what I say, because I do not want our viewers to think that I'm siding with the police or the community. I can only tell you the facts that have been given to us. But the inquiry itself, if it's different, will actually reveal exactly what took place.
I mean, Salman Bhai, we've had inquiries on all sorts of issues in the past. The inquiry takes years and years. They take up a lot of resources. And in the end, by the time the inquiry comes up with a report and produces its evidence and delivers its recommendations. I mean, I was involved in the Lawrence inquiry after the brutal murder of Stephen Lawrence. And when the inquiry report came out, we know what's happening. In my opinion, we're now going backwards in terms of race relations and anti-discrimination. Now, do we have the ability to wait for the inquiries? What is a general view of the Muslim community in Leicester? We seem to have lost the picture from Sulaiman Bhai at the moment. Yeah. What is the general view of the community? Unfortunately, Sulaiman Bhai, we're going to be going for a break in about 55 seconds. Can you hold that thought, please? And I hope my viewers are finding what we're talking about quite interesting. And I'm sure many of you will have your own thoughts as well. So please feel free to phone in. And I'm sure people in Leicester will have their own views, and people around the country will have some views as well. Please feel free to ring in and talk to us and share with us your thoughts. If you are the victim of some of these incidents, whether you're from the Hindu community or the Muslim community or other faith communities, please also share your thoughts. So don't go away. We'll be going for a short break. This is an important issue, and I'm sure that we need to learn our lessons. The inquiry is going to be important. It'll probably gather all the relevant evidence and come back with certain recommendations. My fear is that it might be too far away from now. So please come back. Inshallah, we'll join you soon. Take care. Assalamu alaikum. We'll see you after the break. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.